When we talk about the indigenous Taíno of Puerto Rico and the Iberians who encompass the country of Spain and the Portuguese respectively, we think of totally different people. But if they would share ancestral genetics, then what and who are they? So what genetics Taíno and Iberians have in common? This ancestry stems from the Pontic Caspian steppe, and it can be identified and traced by the male inherited haplogroups R1a, R1b, and Q. Ancestral archaeological groups are shared among many peoples around the world: Western hunter-gatherers, Neolithic European farmers, and the Yamnaya, and much more. But when we talk about indigenous Americans, there is one ancestor of the indigenous Americans that also happens to be the ancestor of the European Yamnaya. The ancient North Eurasians is the father of this lineage, that is the father of ancient Native Americans, and the father of the Yamnaya, or otherwise known as the Caucasus pastoralists, are the result of an immigration to the Pontic Caspian steppe by Hunnic-like men, or otherwise known as the ancient North Eurasians. Ancient North Eurasians are known in archaeogenetics as another branch of the original Paleo-Siberians. Therefore, ancient North Eurasians are Paleo-Siberian in origin, partially. The mtDNA of the ancient North Eurasians include European lineages in origin. Therefore, this branch of Paleo-Siberians are only partially Northeast Asiatic in origin and appearance, but strongly harbor a Western Eurasian genetic source. This genetic ancestry may be considered Hunna or Hunnic-like or Turkic-like in genetic discrepancy, West Eurasian versus East Eurasian. Sources suggest R1b associated to the Yamnaya, who stem from Paleo-Siberian ancient North Eurasians, is the most frequent haplogroup in the country of Spain. A Yamnaya approximation to the Spanish may be around the 30% range. Therefore, a Spaniard can have around 7 to 15% ancient North Eurasian derived DNA in approximation. I, as a modern-day Boricua, have about 19% of my DNA derived from Paleo-Siberian, ancient North Eurasians. It is factual, 19% of this DNA can be divided into the indigenous Boricua genetics and into the Spaniard DNA. Therefore, it's totally possible about 10 to 12% of this DNA is from the Taíno, and the remaining 6 to 8% Spaniard and Portuguese derived. This DNA is traced by lineage. Paternal haplogroups R and Q share a common origin. View Dr. Nathaniel Jensen's series Traced, and view the haplogroup origins map with their macro haplogroups being P for Q and R. The indigenous of Puerto Rico may have easily shared about 25% to 30% ancient North Eurasian ancestry in approximation, if not more. Therefore, I, as a Boricua, count with high levels of ancient North Eurasian DNA. And it is most likely that thanks to my admixture, I may resemble somewhat an ancient population group, such as the ancient North Eurasian Patriarchal Pastoralist Society. In deeper genetic tests, The East Eurasian DNA of the Spanish may be around the 1% margin in approximation, while I, as a Boricua, with the more in-depth variety of genetic tests, have resulted in various ethnicities of Siberian groups, and most around the 2 to 4% range, for instance, East Siberian, West Siberian, Central Siberian, and many other Eastern Eurasian-related ethnicities like Tibet and North Central Asians. I said I am around 19% ancient North Eurasian, but I haven't added how much original Northeast Paleo-Siberian DNA I have in total, which is the female branch of Taíno, and at a rate of 10% autosomal DNA higher than the ancient North Eurasian DNA side. In conclusion, archaeogenetics tell us that the indigenous Boricua and also other indigenous peoples and the Spanish and or the Iberians and Europe share the same patriarch and at least originate from the same archaeological complexes, one being Afontova Gora in Siberia. So most Native Americans, such as the Boricua, and most Europeans, such as the Iberians, have an ancestral father in common. The same thing cannot be said at the same level in Iberian regions where the genetic lineages of the Y chromosome are E, I, G, or J. And that is what genetics Taíno and Iberians have in common. This is ABAKETONEBORIKEJ. Like, share, and subscribe. And thanks for watching this video. Don't forget to buy me a coffee. See you later.